I sent y'all an email last night, kind of late, so I don't know if everybody got it. Don't expect everybody to have, to say the least. By the way, I tend to check my email at least once a day on eLearn, um, and that tends to be either at night or in the morning, sometime during the day. Sometimes I'll glance at it again at night. So just FYI, if you try to email me, and if it's sort of at the end of that cycle or the beginning of the cycle of that day, then sometimes I might miss it. But I do get back. We see each other 3 times a week, so you can always, if I don't reply in eLearn, please do prompt me in the classroom. On the weekend, it's a little bit different for me. I do check it at least once, because my online classes, I tend to assign them things sometimes that I need to check on the weekend. So anyway, with that said, let's talk a little bit about the eLearn and what that email was about last night. And it's about the textbook. I cannot remember. I looked back in my notes. I didn't notate that I went over eLearn in great detail with you as a class. Can somebody let me know, did we go through eLearn as a class? Anybody remember?
I honestly can't remember. I think we did a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's a fog.
I'm sorry, were you referring to like if we went over the eLearn, like the actual syllabus?
I know we went over the syllabus, but did we go over eLearn and the course contents of eLearn?
No, we went over the syllabus.
Okay. Well, the eLearn, as far as what it looks like and how it is coordinated and organized, is based upon the syllabus. So if you look at the, I think we glanced at it on the first or the second, the first day or the second day. I think it was the day we went over the syllabus, but I don't think we went over it in detail. And I'm not going to go open up a lot here, but I'm going to show you, just give you a tour, I guess you could say. If you go to the top here, table contents, you can scroll down the entire semester of content by just going to the very top. But I'm going to look at this. On the left-hand side here, you have, I'm going to get my headphones on so I can hear y'all better and tune out noises around my house. You have on the left-hand side, you have the map for the entire semester, and it's kind of like the bookmarks for the semester.
I'm still seeing the syllabus on my screen.
Oh, right now you're seeing the syllabus? Okay, let me sharing. Let me share this. All right, can y'all see the eLearn now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Okay, thank you, Justin. So that left-hand column, you have the table of contents, and it gives the breakdown, the map, the what do you call that? Sort of the bookmarks for the entire semester. And so getting started is where we'll begin. We have the syllabus, and most importantly, underneath the syllabus, well, not more important than the syllabus, but as importantly, the module for your textbook. And it has a system check for making sure your computer is compatible with MindTap, a registration prompt here, the link for the textbook, and this should be up here actually. This is the recording from the first class in the syllabus. That's from last Friday, I believe, when we went over the syllabus. Yes, so the news about the textbook. I went through yesterday a series of emails that were very frustrating with the bookstore, that just getting complete crickets in response for over the course of 2 days actually. And finally, by CCing our vice president of facilities and vice president of kind of the money who pays the bookstore, because bookstore is a private company that we contract with, and I finally got some responses. Sometimes you have to go to the boss, and so yes, they had not conjoined up the loose leaf with a code as we did last year, and I thought that they would just follow my pattern for this year, but they just went and did their own thing this year. So now they have ordered the loose leaf / codes, and I got in touch with the publisher as well, the representative from the publisher, and he said that they will extend the free period till the 9th of February, so an extra week. And so when you go into MindTap, you'll see an option, and I sent in my email. I sent the let me open up that email. I sent a I should probably put this in eLearn just for your reference. An image that was sent to me by the publisher. You'll choose between unlimited versus pay for materials individually. You're going to select pay for materials individually, unless you want unlimited. Unlimited is all about if you have multiple classes using MindTap. It gives you it's worth it for that, but you don't want that just for this class. The unlimited, they give you 1 week of freebie. For the one that we need, this is 2 weeks, and so but they've extended it to 3 weeks, which will be the 9th. Okay, so that is is there any questions about? There's more information here that I've sent regarding the textbook that you can reference in the email. Are there any questions about the textbook at this point?
No, I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Please do yell out whenever if there's further issues. I went on the bookstore website yesterday morning and saw that there was no listing for our textbook at all, and I just about had a heart attack. But they had taken down, based upon what I had said in my emails, but didn't respond to my emails, but they had taken down on the bookstore's website the textbook altogether. And yeah, I'm just kind of fed up with the bookstore right now. I'm looking for open source materials for the next time I teach this class, so I can completely do this for free for students. So moving down below the Getting Started module, we talked about in the syllabus the presentation or the semester assignment that you're going to pick an article of your interest, and these articles parallel the subject matter of our course. So you'll see there's some stuff here about disease and DNA, genetics, and progresses down to about the primates, the chimps, These are all really, some of them are a little bit older than others, but they're all really interesting articles that I highly recommend. And yeah, then you get down here and looking at the fossil record, and into the stones and bones world, the fossil findings of Neanderthal and Lucy and Australopithecines, that is, etc. So you'll want to pick one of these, and I believe at the end of this first module, I want you to have selected something, and I believe I got that on the syllabus, the date of when I want you to have it selected. Maybe I did not. I got the assignment due. Well, let's shoot for the end of this first module. It's not like an end of the world thing if you don't, but to pick your article, and if you want to do it for the extra credit and present to the class for the extra credit, as is mentioned in the syllabus, then you will need to get that to me as sooner than later, because we need to find a time for you to present sometime in the semester, and I'll have to organize my lectures around your presentation. When I say your presentation, 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes is kind of ideal, not a long one, so a short presentation. So that's extra credit is, what did I mark that as? That's a new thing, 20 points extra credit. So that's a pretty substantial amount of points to do that presentation if you decide to do it. Any questions about the articles? Okay. So report articles live there. Unit assignments live here. Each unit has a different assignment. You will not get to see in your student view. You will not get to see the answers. But this first homework, which is due at the end of the module, if you open it up, it has it's a worksheet of some sort, of question worksheet that I would suggest using as you do your reading, because or as you listen to the lectures, keep these questions. Sometimes eLearn just does not want to load in whenever you open up a file without downloading it. So we'll just download it and open it. Yeah, then it tells you need to download it. So that means a lot of people are using the system right now. I downloaded it. There we go. So yeah, it's a worksheet with some extra credit. Final 8th question. That's a doing your own pedigree in the Punnett Square. But this is problems associated with genetics and biology, the world of DNA. So, and like we've talked about, each of these assignments are parallel to the work that we're doing in each of the units. The adoptive primate paper. I definitely don't recommend working ahead to Unit 3, because I'm rethinking this final homework assignment. If you want to work ahead and start thinking about your primate paper, you're welcome to do that. I'm not going to tell you not to. But definitely keep Unit 3, which is the last third of the semester, keep that in your pocket, because I'm definitely reconsidering the content of it. Go down to course. Please stop me if anybody has any questions at any point. Excuse me. Unit 1, and each of these modules for course contents are very much well patterned the same. You'll see Unit 1, first thing you'll see is the unit exam review, exam 1 review, recordings. I have our recording from chapter 1 here. I'll just continue to add the recordings after each class in this area right here, in this module right here. Then you go down to introduction, in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. Like I said, they're all the same. You have links to MindTap, the quiz. You have the link to, takes you to the textbook, I believe. That's my PowerPoint. There's some critical thinking questions. Again, these are all learning tools, the flashcards. These are not graded. The only thing that's graded is the quiz, of course, and that's done through MindTap. Then you have some videos, and each of the chapters will have a set of videos. This is not very robust, but if you jump down to, I guess there's 3 here, jump down to the second module and get into primates, you'll see that the primate videos should be pretty, oops, not mean to do that. Primate videos, I've got lots of primate videos, especially in the 7th chapter, where we have lots of things to talk about primate behavior. So anyway, that's how each of the chapters are arranged in course content. Each of the unit modules there for you to explore and for you to ask me questions as you run into them, and to bring up anything that, any dead links, links that don't lead to anywhere, please let me know, so that I can fix it. I think I've covered it, but I tend to always miss at least 1 or 2 little details sometimes. We've got 5 classes, it happens. So that's course contents. I really, other aspects of eLearn that are important, your class list. If you want to communicate with myself or your classmates throughout the semester, go to class list, which is underneath tools. The Dropbox for assignments is underneath activities Dropbox, but you can also enter into these Dropboxes through the course contents underneath the modules. So, any questions? All right. Well, let's get back into the PowerPoint for chapter 1. We left off in the PowerPoint talking about chapter 2. What's in this PowerPoint basically is a this PowerPoint is basically a I guess you could say it is presenting to us what we're going to cover in the textbook. Chapter 1 is a preview of things to come, in a sense, or at least that's how I devised the PowerPoint to be. So we talked about in chapter 2, it's going to be very theory driven. We're going to look at Darwin. We're going to look at what he discovered and what he continues not to understand. We talked about that on Monday. And so let's look at the chapter 3 and chapter 4. We are a big chunk of this class, this subject matter, this discipline is dedicated to the world of genetics and biology. And in these 2 chapters, we are going to look at this relationship between physical sciences and what it tells us about ourself as a species and ourself as our relationship to other species. And you know, this is the world of genetics, molecular anthropology, which is its own world unto itself. That's a subdiscipline of biological anthropology. Again, looking at, you know, we know now the separation between us and chimps is somewhat 2% when we look at ourselves genetically. There's a lot of practical application to biological anthropology and world of genes, from looking at how diseases are passed down from one generation to the next. Pretty soon I believe that we are going to be carrying a card around with us that basically when we go to a medical clinic of any sort, we're going to present to them our genetic card that tells our genetic type. This is already being done. I mean, gene therapy is something that is becoming a normalized feature of medicine. Treating leukemia, but also looking at in other aspects is the world of in vitro design of babies. This is something that is becoming something somewhat common. And so, yeah, it's a very ethically and changing world that is kind of new. And there's, like I said, ethically, we're crossing some lines that are for some are of concern, and for others it's like, well, we need to keep pressing forward and exploring this world. But so on a I think more for me a very interesting aspect of this is the tracing of our ancestors, and now this has become a very common dynamic of our culture and learning about ourselves. And it must have been 20 years ago now, maybe not that long ago, but 15 years ago, I guess 16 years ago, I sent my DNA swab to National Geographic. They were the first one to do this genome typing world, this genome exploration of our ancestors. And I got back a package that told me, that my markers, which one of them was R1B1C7, was one of my main marker. That told me that I came from Northern Ireland, and I was surprised. I was kind of because our family's been telling each other that we're Scottish for forever. McCamish, Scottish, it's just like everybody asks me, so you must be Scottish. No, we are Irish, and we're not Scot-Irish. We're not the Scottish who migrated to Ireland, but because this genetic story that was told to me through National Geographic said, no, we are not. But what was really interesting is I plugged in my haplogroups. I plugged in that and plugged in my name and my information. I threw away, gave all my stuff out to the internet and into a larger database. And I had a woman contact me who had been hired by another McCamish in Georgia. And this is completely new news to me, but if you go onto Georgia Tech's campus, go by their arena, it's McCamish Arena. And my wife and I went to go see a concert a few years ago, and we were driving through Atlanta and looked up at the arena. I was like, what? McCamish Arena. So these folks they have kind of money that my family doesn't have, but they're the ones that hired this genealogist to research our family line, and she had been doing it for like 3 years, and so she tagged me. She saw my markers, and she followed up with me, and she said, "You're the grandson of Dave," and just started telling me a bunch of things that I was a little freaked out about, but then I've had an ongoing relationship. She wrote a book and called The Three Brothers. She had traced our family lineage back to the three brothers from Ireland who migrated back in the 18th century, 1756, 57, I believe, and a story behind that. And traced them. She went over to Ireland and dug down there and found out that my lineage goes back to the King of Niles, which is his tyrant who was horrific destroyer of life, and but as a king. So I come from royalty, and you too, for $99, can find out that you came from royalty as well. Anyway, so this is the world that we're living in today. We're able to trace back in America. That's pretty extraordinary to be able to find out Has anybody else done their profiling, sent in their DNA samples to and my wife did 23andMe. I gave it to her for a Christmas present one time, but it's all, you can do that all for about under $100, and it's to me it's quite interesting, and you can learn something about genetics and about yourself at the same time. Extra credit assignment. Yeah, well, if you got the money, Smith, I'll give that consideration. Yeah, it's definitely, it comes with a price tag, unfortunately. It's interesting. I would consider it. I have to think about that though. Yeah, so, and if your aunt did get Gabby, then you can definitely find out something about yourself. And I mean, you're, especially if somebody within your immediate family, you can still and sponge off of them. And I shared what I've learned from my investment and to the rest of my family. And so it's definitely, and so, but of course, if it's your aunt which depend on what side of your family, you can choose when you do this, you can choose between your mother's side and your father's side, or you can choose both. But if it's your aunt on your mother's side, then you can learn about obviously your mother's lineage. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it was a worthwhile investment. So your mom's side, so that matrilineal side, they go, and we'll talk about this later on. There's two different, for your father's side, for your male lineage, you'll be able to use your X chromosome, your Y chromosome, what's being passed down through that small little tiny, the 23rd chromosome for males. So yeah, again, we'll explore more of the technical aspects of what happens there whenever tracing takes place. So anyway, moving on. Tracing ancestors, that's fun stuff. Biologists, how do people adapt to their physical environment? No, we do not, Samantha. You have a choice. You choose between your male or your female lineage. If you choose your female lineage, it'll go through your mtDNA, your mitochondria. So that's what's been, that stays from mother to child, that stays consistent throughout, and it's the footprint for the mother's lineage that is most consistent and stays intact. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about the technical aspect of that in the coming chapter, the coming chapter actually. So hang on. Okay. So I'm looking at y'all's more on that. Yeah, in cultural anthropology, we explore. Samantha's asking. I mean, in life, is women take the man's name? Yeah, the man's name. That's a cultural dynamic, and we have what we call a patrilineage, where our line of our family is culturally defined by the male lineage, right? So, and that's a cultural aspect. Biologically, obviously, that's a different world. So yes. We will definitely explore more of that in the cultural anthropology course. So biologists ask the question, how do people adapt to their physical environment? So we are, this is one of the features throughout the semester that you'll hear about as far as our relationship to the physical environment, our skin color, our height, our it's our hair, it's every aspect of our physicality has been in response to our environment. Now this gets a little bit more complicated because migration has been happening such that over the last couple hundred years, particularly the last 100 years, movement in population and the intermixing of population has made things a little more complicated. So anthropologists like to find populations that have stayed in the same area um, for that haven't migrated. Those are the people that genetically speaking are most fascinating to anthropologists because their genetic composition has remained intact, and so yes, they're more isolated. But the intermixing, where you have this, collage of human genetic mixture, it is it's chaos because of the intermixing. Of course, health-wise, the more genetic mixture you have, the more diversity in genes that you have, and therefore the more potential your physicality and your genetic composition can adapt to your environment. The more diversity you have, more diversity in genes you have, the stronger code you have, I guess you could say, because you're able to adjust and to adapt to the changes in your environment much more flexibly. So yes, and yeah, human variation and the effect of migration. This is one of the biggest questions of biologists, like I just sort of went through. Any questions about this? So 5, 6, and 7, macrobiology, microevolution, primate overview, and primate behavior. Those 3 chapters you're going to be looking at. We're going to go from the micro world of chapters 3, 4, 3 and 4, where we're looking at biology, cells, and genetics, and we're going to expand out into a broader view of humanity from the macro, large. So this is that chapter 5 will transition us into, in that chapter 5 we'll be looking at the sort of the transitional moment between humans and our primate cousins. So we are looking at where we fit in the animal kingdom here. And we do so by comparing ourselves to the other animals. And we have to look at, the reptiles versus the mammals. And when we work our way down the chart, this is sort of drilling down from the large to the small, and comparing ourselves to species that used to live and species that are currently living. And so, yeah, this is a subdiscipline of anthropology is physical anthropology is primatology, the study of primates. And this is, again, if we work our way down the chart, we're actually going from our closest relatives here, the African apes, down to our most distant ancestral cousins of the prosimians, which include the lemurs. Lemurs really were not very well known up till about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, before the movie Madagascar came out. I think Pixar did that movie and really brought them to the popular cultural awareness. But those are very, very distant ancestral primates that, and we're going to look at the traits that the prosimians have, that we share with the prosimians, and what we share with the monkeys, and what we share with the Asian apes and the African apes, and then what we have, the traits that we don't share with them, and what makes us different than those primates. I think this is one of my most enjoyable units for this course. So look forward to exploring this world and reading the research that y'all come up with for your papers. Chapter 8. After we explore the primates, we go into the world of stones and bones and the fossil record. We have the 7 million year history of fossil record, and of course this parallels what is so great about this is that it parallels the genetic um, story too, because the genetic story says that basically that 2% difference between us and primates and other primates, the chimp, would take 7 million years to diverge from each other genetically. So genetically, we have the same story, the same time period, and that's based upon, we know how much time it takes for one mutation to take us in a different direction, one species directed away from another species. So genetically, it backs up what we know in the story of the Stones and Bones. We still need this. We need the physicality. We need this physical world of these fossils to continue to validate what's happening genetically, and vice versa. So Sahelanthropus chadensis was the oldest specimen, and you'll see when we look at these are just, we don't find whole fossil specimens. We find lots of rudimentary parts, and each one of these, Auroran, Ardipithecus, all the Australopithecines, all these we find in fragments. Lucy is one of the most complete, old, as a 3.2 million year old Australopithecine. But Ardipithecus is just fragments of bones, as you'll see, from different parts of the body, Auroran as well, and a Sahelanthropus. So what they do is they find these different bone fragments, and through the detective work of forensic detective work, they are able to piece together the story. And they will take years and years to orchestrate the detective work. They will sit on findings, and they will, UC Berkeley had the Ardipithecus findings for about 10 plus years before they actually published their research. And so Tim White was the scientist who was on that. Homo erectus, and was the first, Homo habilis was the first genus Homo species that broke off from the Australopithecines, but Homo erectus is the one that left Africa at about 1.8 million years ago. Neanderthal, that story continues to unfold as far as what we know about our relationship to Neanderthals. They are now classified as Homo neanderthalensis. They are of our genus. We know that we have a genetic overlap with them that is substantial now that we have decoded the DNA for Neanderthal. So modern day humans ourselves, there's debate about how old the modern day human is. Some will bring us down closer to like 40 to 50,000 years ago. There's some that say 100,000 years ago. That's all this stuff we're going to sort of explore and touch on. Any questions? So this will be the last third of the semester, or so the last, not the last third, but it's the, so it's towards the end of the semester, and before we go into the final chapter of looking at present-day modern humans. So within that world of stones and bones, we have paleontology, which paleontology is the broader discipline of looking at all the entire fossil record, not just the human lineage. The human lineage fossil record is explored by paleoanthropologists. So yes, paleoanthropologists look at the 65 million year history of primates that hones into eventually the 7 million year history of the human primate. Then another subdiscipline of this world is paleopathology. Paleopathology is a very specialized exploration of paleoanthropology, which explores disease and nutrition of these old fossils. You can tell a story based upon one singular bone based upon what kind of condition that fossil is in. Nutritionally speaking, how well did they eat, and what was the social standing of this person can come out of that. And as we see, as disease became much more rampant as we developed agriculture, and around it's been 12, 13,000 years ago, but when agriculture developed, we found larger populations, more social disease, and health actually went down as we started to live in larger groups. But then you go back to Neanderthals and you see trauma as being a trademark in the fossil record, because they were hunting large-scale animals, and they were the first group of Homo that really were successful hunters, but they had to kill things up close because their weapons did not allow them to be at distance from the animals when they were hunting. So paleopathology is fascinating world again. Osteology is another dimension of paleoanthropology and paleontology that is classifying animals. They take a skeleton and a fossil find and sort out exactly what they're looking at. So anyway, it's just another subcategory of this discipline. Go deeper and deeper into the most applied form of this is what we find in forensics. Forensics is something that some of you might have taken this course because of your interest in forensics. It is what draws people to this discipline in anthropology and also to my other discipline in criminal justice. And again, the technology that it's applied to both these fields are the same. It is in forensics, we're talking about criminal investigations and trying to piece together the story behind a crime scene. Also trying to cipher out who was killed in 9/11. They sent out the forensics folks that was, going into war zones and trying to sort out the people who are found in the war zone, people missing in action. So yes, same sort of technology that's used in crime scenes is used in the field of anthropology when they find a fossil finding. Any questions about this? All right, so chapters 11 and 12, bringing us up to modern day, looking at the bioculture anthropology and looking at modern day culture and how it influences our biology and our physicality. There's a dance that takes place between biology and culture. So taking Samantha's question earlier, why is it that we trace, the family through the man's name, and that has a story behind it that goes back to, of course, long years ago, and of course anthropology does explore that. But so physically, biologically speaking, though, what was the impact on the gender women, female gender, to have been in such a subservient position throughout time? And so in bioculture evolution, this is we look at things like what impact physically does it have on groups of people who live in poverty or who live as second-class citizens, who don't have access to resources. These are the questions, and that this is all relevant to the third question here. How do the cultural processes which concentrate wealth in the hands of the few affect the biological capacities of the many? The middle one question is, how do cultural processes that degrade the natural environment affect human biological potential? So what is what we're seeing today in the environment and our cultural influence on the environment, we won't know for some time to come as to its impact on our reproductive capacity. As far as birth defects, maybe. What is it that as far as the growth and the overdevelopment of technology, what kind of influence is that going to have on our the rate of cancer in the future? The concentration of having bad backs. I'm 6'4", and this world of sitting in our chairs and looking at computers it's been horrific on my body, more so than any of the horrific weightlifting and sports playing that I did earlier on than that. So yes, our culture, what we do for a living, how we do it, is something that's influencing our biology. And so, the development of our culture is something that is something that we sort of take for granted because we don't see our own culture. We don't see it for what it is. Biomedical anthropology, this is sort of going back to what we were talking about with biology, looking at infectious diseases. And we're living through a moment right now that is just a great field opening up for anthropologists, which is the coronavirus, of course, and how that is going to influence our future generations, our current generation, and our future generation. Why don't we pick up here on Friday and finish out chapters 11 and 12, and then we will actually move into chapter 2 on Friday as well. But we'll pick up here with coronavirus because I want to hear what some of y'all's own anticipation for how this moment of COVID is going to possibly do to our culture in the future. Okay. So if there's no questions, if you want to hang out for a minute and ask me any questions, any follow-up questions, I will do so for the next couple minutes. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you. See you Friday.
See you Friday.
Bye-bye.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So sorry about the diverge into cultural anthropology. I think I'm gonna have a problem crossing the streams with these two classes.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's great to be taking both of these at the same time. You're going to get a big dose of it. Excuse me, of anthropology. And they do bleed into each other. They do kind of, but this is the only chapter that really, they are almost the exact same subject matter. I talk about some of the exact same things in both first chapters, but they start to diverge, you'll see. But when we're talking about culture, in both of them, there's some overlap because it's the same subject, of course. But and I'm always talking about the sort of biological component to culture to some degree in the other class as well. So yeah, no, it's okay to be confusing the two. I think that's a good thing. I like that. Keeps me on my toes.
There is such a strong biological aspect with that whole tracing the lineage through the men instead of the women.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we, as crude as it may sound, but the whole mamas, baby, daddies, maybe, it does make more sense to trace through the females than it does the males.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's a dynamic that. So when we get into family and kinship chapters, it's and then those two chapters are combined with gender, and we get into some of that stuff with those chapters. Yeah, it is. It's it's interesting to look at cultures that practice a matrilineal society, which they trace their the mothers run the roost, and the names go through the mother. It's a very small percentage of cultures around the world that do practice that still. It used to be a predominant form of kinship organization prior to our patriarchal reality that we live in now. But so yeah, it turns some students' heads when we start to look at the matrilineal legacy, because there is good reason practical reason to organize families with the mother as the matriarch and as the dominant person in a family. So, yeah, but it's good. I'm glad you're in both classes, Samantha. It's good.
I just hope I don't get too confused along the way.
Oh no, well, you know what? Don't let yourself. Just always come back to me and with questions, and even outside of class.
Yeah, you're gonna get so tired of hearing from me. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that right now.
I students like you in my classes, you really help other students by asking questions, because other students are sometimes confused, but they don't ask the question. So please ask questions.
Oh yeah, I'm not afraid to look stupid.
It's not, you know what, the thing about it is that it's looking like a good student to me. So keep it up.
Oh, awesome. Yay. For once, I'm a good student.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll leave you be. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.